With respect to appointments, public transport, getting into work or menstrual cycles, tardiness represents inconvenience at every level. In fact, a man's worst nightmare often begins when he hears his significant other say those two dreaded words, "I'm late." But we're not here to take a shot at the subjects of unplanned parenting, but rather the phenomenon that has caused more stress, anxiety and inconvenience than all others, lateness. The culture of lateness has become such a phenomenon in South America that even governments are stepping in and attempting to effect change. Peru has adopted widespread synchronization programs by which its citizens set their clocks to the sound of sirens and church bells. They have drawn the idea from fellow South American nation Ecuador, who has compiled figures on what the cost of lateness really is. It was determined that the average Ecuadorian lost 15 minutes every day as a result of lateness. This costs the country some $724 million every year. In a country with a GDP of only 24 billion, that's about 3% of everything the country makes. Ecuador's International University actually puts this cost of lateness closer to 2.5 billion, but that's probably more to do with the fact that, well, students were collecting the data. Surveys were conducted to see how often people were late. Students were in fact the worst offenders, running late 22% of the time. In fact, one could easily apportion this highly distorted lateness figure to students conducting the survey simply being too lazy to leave the campus. Businessmen were said to be late 12% of the time, but Ecuador's working class were the most punctual, running late for only 1.3% of their commitments. In order to turn this problem around in a country where the national pastime is being pastime, Ecuador has drafted up public commitments that include individuals, corporations, governments and industry to pledge to keep everyone on time. Public officials who are late for events and meetings will also find themselves named and shamed in public newsletters. Retired Colonel Cesar Montefar is in charge of ending Ecuador's lateness epidemic and has told reporters, "He who is late steals time from another. It's not just a matter of arriving on time, but respect for other people." Mexicans, on the other hand, are always punctual. They turn up on time without a fuss, but it's what they do when they're on time where the problem lies. Given that this footage was taken in the Mexican House of Representatives, I'd say the problem is pretty rampant. But the phenomenon of lateness is hardly restricted to Latin America. Consider this testament from James Ashcroft, who's a Scottish private security contractor working in Iraq.
Locals that work with us, they all laugh at themselves a lot. They are proud of their reputation for tardiness and will specify that they are turning up at either Iraqi 9 o'clock, that is before lunch, or English 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
But by far the worst offenders are those in Africa, in particular Ethiopia. Ethiopians celebrated their entry into the year 2000 on September 12th, 2007. That's right folks, it was just last week. But just because they were nearly 8 years late didn't make them any less enthusiastic. Crowds flocked from all over Ethiopia to the capital Addis Ababa for the biggest party the country had ever seen. Lines of Ethiopians gathered in churches hoping that the new year, coupled with a dose of holy water, could cure their illness and grant them prosperity. The Saudi billionaire even purpose-built a venue for this belated bash, with a privileged few able to score tickets for about $160, which incidentally is about the average annual income of Ethiopians. So drink up Ethiopia, because that hangover needs to last you all year. But if you are running late though, some people are occasionally prepared to extend you some latitude, but reporters from the BBC are not among them.
Hi, I'm so sorry I'm a few minutes late. I'm here for the interview.
No, you stop! No, listen to me! You are not there at the beginning of that interview!
I can barely hear you. Do you realize you're screaming?
You were not there! You did not hear or record all the interview!
I was just running a few minutes late.
You are quoting the second half of the interview, not the first half!
Let me just take myself out of consideration and wish you a good day, sir.
No, listen to me!
And despite the fact that it's been 11 days since the last weekly post, I'd like to say to you all that I don't have a double standard. I wasn't late, I was just proving a point, and I'm also a terrible liar. Take care out there.